Today on Mega Man Fully Charged, class is in session. Later, Fireman and Waveman team up and get steamed. When Wildbrain, then known as DHX Media, first fully revealed Fully Charged in 2016, a number of red flags immediately jumped out at Mega Man fans. The redesign easily got the most ire. This is among the nicer takes. Also, the mention of a new character named Mega Mini brought to mind awful sidekicks of past cartoons, such as Godzuki and Scrappy Doo. More subtly disquieting than those two elements, however, were the implications of this snippet. Mega Man's alter ego, Aki Light, a normal, upbeat, schoolboy robot. When I read this back then, my heart sank a little. Sure, the creators intended the series to be primarily for kids, and kids do go to school. Also, this wouldn't even be the first time Mega Man had been tossed into a school setting. A short-lived 2003 comic from Dreamwave Productions similarly cast Mega Man, or should I say Rocky Light, as a schoolboy. Still, Mega Man didn't grab my attention as a kid and hold it as an adult by dealing with playground bullies and fretting about school dances. He did it by battling cool robots and struggling with what the fight for everlasting peace actually entails. Given this, I've been impressed so far with the restraint Fully Charged has shown in utilizing its school setting. The writers have given Aki classmates and homework, but outside of the student government election and running wild, they haven't plopped him into the usual tropey school plots. For example, Aki is yet to square off with bullies, endure peer pressure, or worry about dating. Of course, I know these kind of plots do serve useful purposes in children's entertainment, and I certainly won't hold them against the series if or when they pop up in the future. I just find the writer's choice to abstain from these plots for so long both welcome and refreshing. Now then, let's fight a mean teacher. Unfriendly Competition begins with an honestly amazing interaction between Aki and Bert. An upcoming robot sports competition has Aki pumped, but his mood quickly sours after Bert swaggers up and reveals that he'll also be competing using his latest invention. I am all about this version of that theme. Anyway, the two exchange barbs, and while Aki thinks his remarks are just good-natured fun, Suna chides him for putting down Bert's efforts and underestimating him. There are two things I love about this interaction. Firstly, Aki and Bert's tit-for-tat mirrors the relationship between the classic Dr. Light and Dr. Wily so hard, it gave me goosebumps.
Oh, really? Well, let me show you what a little human ingenuity can do, your botness!
One day, Light. One day the world will know I was right all along!
I know I stated in the past that there's nothing wrong with this show's Albert Wily having little to do with the original character, and I still stand by that. If this moment, however, had led to Bert using his inventions to champion human ingenuity and eventually become a full-time rival of Aki's, I probably would have been fine with it. That would be a clever way to incorporate a child version of Dr. Wily in this universe. As it is, it's still a fine avenue for tension between Aki and Bert, if the story requires such a conflict. Secondly, this conversation demonstrates how supposedly friendly ribbing can quickly go too far. I'm a firm believer that there are always grains of truth in even the most seemingly benign jabs between friends. This is why sometimes teasing friends about certain things can result in hurt feelings and lost tempers. Regardless of Aki's intent, Bert felt belittled all the same, because, as Suna points out, he worked very hard on these inventions. Understanding how one's words can affect others is a very important lesson for kids to learn, so I'm pleased to see this show bring it up. I'm not even bothered by the fact that this is technically a lesson Aki encountered back in Blaze of Glory. In that episode, Bert offered to help Mega Man investigate the water plant, and Mega Man chose his words carefully in order to help Bert understand that while his help would be appreciated, the situation was still too dangerous. That moment differs from this one, however, because back then, Aki addressed Bert as Mega Man. Aki was much more focused on putting forth the best image of himself, so I can totally understand him slipping up here because he's not in hero mode. After this dialogue, the episode's tone changes to something I never expected from this series. Bubbles of paralytic fluid swarm the school, abducting the students. Aki meganizes, only for the lights to suddenly go out. Danger appears to lurk around every corner as automatic turrets open fire from all angles. From out of nowhere, Mega Man Fully Charged goes full-on horror. Well, light horror anyway. Either way, it definitely grabbed my attention. Mega Man has been shown as hunted before in Blaze of Glory, but this is on a whole new level due to the darkness, the auto turrets, and the knowledge that even a single brush with these chemicals will render him completely helpless. And this is to say nothing of the fact that this all takes place in a public school. Throwing that in the mix makes it all the more disturbing. Thankfully, Unfriendly Competition keeps itself from getting too grim, with some good gags and the show's third new robot master, Chemistry Man. This slighted schoolteacher represents the culmination of Aki and Bert's exchange earlier. His termination from Silicon Central left him feeling underestimated and unappreciated, making him an easy mark for Breaker Knight to lure to his side. Despite his upgrades and his ability to synthesize any number of dangerous compounds though, Chemistry Man isn't too threatening. He is an ex-educator after all. Mega Man seems to agree too, as he changes tack a bit once he recognizes him.
Mr. NRT? Is that you, sir?
You're way too polite to be one of my students. How do you know my old name, hero?
Mega Man calling him Sir was a nice touch. It again promotes de-escalation. This is even more important here because Chemistry Man isn't evil. He just feels disrespected and wants to teach again. Sadly, the episode loses me a little at the end. If Aki and Bert are supposed to parallel Principle 100-100 in Chemistry Man, and Aki was wrong for the way he treated Bert, then 100-100 should be considered wrong for hastily terminating Chemistry Man, right? Well, this episode doesn't think so. According to the flashback, Chemistry Man students disrespected him in about every way they could, and 100-100 responded by firing him as if he was the problem.
They didn't call me sir. They called me Mr. Inert. They slept in my class. I was a good teacher. I loved my work. Apparently, I was the only one.
Of course, Chemistry Man should face consequences now for his attack on the school, but for 100-100 to never once regret firing him earlier, and for no one else to call him out on it, is kinda upsetting. Ditto for none of the students expressing any remorse for being so rude to Chemistry Man before. At the very least, Aki learns a lesson, and I think it's still done well enough for kids to get it too. Next up, Opposites Attract brings back two Robot Masters, Fireman and Waveman, to go all odd couple with a cockamamie scheme, stealing water from a lake and ransoming the city for its return. Unfortunately for them, the Light family is vacationing at that very lake, and Aki and Suna quickly spot them and mobilize to stop them. Like in Unfriendly Competition, this episode draws parallels between the protagonists and antagonists. Squabbling plagues each duo as they work towards their goals, putting the lesson front and center for the duration of the episode. It's pretty stock stuff, really, right down to Mega Man and Suna winning by inflaming the rift between Fireman and Waveman. There are some character details, though, which help keep this episode worthwhile. For starters, I love seeing Fireman and Waveman together. Villain team-ups are always fun, and pairing a hothead with a drip is doubly so. The best part of their alliance is how each are clearly trying to overcome their respective faults. Fireman indeed still sees an anger management therapist, and he even expresses amusement when he manages to take advantage of Mega Man's own frustration.
Dude, you gotta get that anger thing under wraps, kid.
Meanwhile, Waveman tries to be more responsible by taking his time with his work and being protective of his equipment. Also, while Fireman is the de facto leader of the pair, Waveman takes charge of the team building aspect by promoting the use of nicknames.
Friends have nicknames.
It's not often that a cartoon can show me such a goofy villain pairing and leave me thinking that they'd actually be successful if the heroes didn't intervene. Back on the hero side, Mega Man gets corrupted again by using Fireman's ability too long. While this side effect is starting to get a little old, it is necessary for this plot to happen, because Aki has already proven that normally he'd be more than capable of working with others as Mega Man. As for Suna, she winds up learning a bit of humility. I'm not a fan of this episode making her a little bratty just to give her a learning opportunity, but I do concede it's important for smart characters in fiction to sometimes discover that they don't always know what's best. Finally, I am all about Metalhead Dr. Light. The dad energy is strong in this one. Opposites Attract and Unfriendly Competition both have one other thing in common. Each alludes to something bigger going on behind the scenes. Up to this point, episodes of Fully Charged have largely been independent of each other. Most of the mischief up until now hasn't been coordinated. These episodes, however, show that Breaker Knight is slowly recruiting an army of robot masters. Even more important, Mega Man is now aware that something is going on.
The boss put me in charge. I'm in charge.
Wait, who's the boss?
Speaking of recruits, let's take a closer look at one of Breaker Knight's newest, Chemistry Man. Of the 3 new robot masters the show has introduced so far, his design is my second favorite. Chemistry Man is a former teacher, and his look and mannerisms complement his old role. He sports a droll shirt and necktie combo, and speaks in a slightly condescending drone.
Excellent use of the second law of thermodynamics, Mega Man. You get a gold star.
His specialization in chemistry comes through even more strongly. Besides his protective glasses and his arm-mounted Bunsen burner, his tie can transform into a gas mask, and his entire body is shaped like a round flask. And for a final bit of nerdiness, his former name, Mr. NRT, may be a reference to the general gas equation, PV equals NRT. And no, I did not know that before reading a wiki. These 2 episodes of Fully Charged are exceptional. Unfriendly Competition experiments with a new tone and makes the introduction of newcomer Chemistry Man very memorable. Opposites Attract further endears viewers by drawing out charming new interactions from the existing cast. And to top it all off, both episodes hint that something big looms in the future, promising that as good as these episodes are, the best is yet to come. Next time on Mega Man Fully Charged, Silicon City gets a slick new hero, and a strange visitor gut checks the lighthouse.
well as a paralytic agent, so while you will not be able to move, you will definitely stay awake.